When I landed in Los Angeles without warning, I never expected to walk into a nightmare. My son was dying, alone, abandoned in the sterile silence of the ICU. And while his chest rose and fell beneath machines, the woman who promised to love him was out on a yacht, laughing, drinking, and flaunting diamonds under the sun. That was the moment I made one call, a call that stripped her of everything she worshipped. Within minutes, she went from queen of the ocean to a penniless ghost, and what happened next drove her mind over the edge. Before we continue, thank you for your support to this channel. Every like and comment is dear to our heart. Tell us your name and where you're watching from in the comments section. We'll love to give you a shout out in our next video. Let's proceed. I didn't leave a note, didn't tell a soul, didn't even think long enough to pack more than the clothes on my back. The moment the call came through, my life shifted. A mutual acquaintance from Los Angeles, a man who never called unless something grave had happened, spoke words that stripped the strength from my knees. "Mike, I thought you should know. Your son, he's in ICU. It doesn't look good." My first reaction was denial, a sharp rejection of the reality his words carried. I paced the room like a caged animal, muttering that there had to be some mistake. But deep down, in the marrow of my bones, I knew. A father knows when his child is in peril, even across oceans. Within minutes, I had booked the next flight out of New York, not caring about cost, luggage, or explanations. The only thing that mattered was getting to Los Angeles before time stole what little chance I had left to hold my son's hand. On the flight, I sat by the window, watching the streaks of city lights dissolve beneath the plane as it roared into the dark sky. But I didn't see the lights. I saw flashes of my son's childhood, replaying like a film I couldn't turn off. Him taking his first steps in the backyard, stumbling toward me with arms outstretched. Him as a boy, face covered in dirt, proudly showing me the fort he had built from cardboard boxes. Him as a teenager, taller than I expected one morning, his voice suddenly deeper, his laughter rougher but still familiar. Every milestone returned with painful clarity, reminding me how much he had meant to me and how much I might lose. The air on the plane was stale, yet every breath felt like it carved through my chest. I clenched the armrest so tightly that my knuckles turned white, praying, silently, desperately, that I wasn't too late. When I landed at LAX, dawn had just begun to bleed across the horizon. Los Angeles looked like a city waking from restless dreams, but I was in no state to notice its glamour or its chaos. A cab carried me through streets still wet with dew, my reflection in the window a ghost of a father clinging to hope. By the time I walked into the hospital, I could feel the cold heaviness of antiseptic and despair in the air. Hospitals have their own language, the constant hum of machines, the steady rhythm of monitors, the muted footsteps of nurses who know how fragile silence can be. I was led down a corridor, each step echoing like a countdown. And then I saw him. My son lay on the bed, thin, pale, tubes invading his arms and chest, his face barely recognizable. He looked like a man robbed of time, a soldier beaten by an unseen war. His chest rose and fell shallowly, a weak surrender against the machines keeping him tethered to life. I moved closer, forcing myself not to collapse beside him. When I placed my hand over his, he stirred faintly, as if some distant part of him still recognized me. That single tremor shattered me. Tears welled, but I forced them back. I had to be strong for him. I leaned in, whispered into his ear, "You're not alone, son. I'm here now. I won't leave you again." His eyelids fluttered, and though no words came, I felt his grip tighten just enough to remind me that a sliver of him was still fighting. But as I stood there, something darker gnawed at me. Where was she? His wife, the woman he had trusted, cherished, and promised his future to. Nurses told me she hadn't visited in days. Not hours. Days. My jaw clenched until pain shot through my temples. I tried to picture her crying at his bedside, too grief-stricken to face reality. But the truth came crashing down when I checked my phone. Social media told a story the hospital walls couldn't. There she was, his wife. Draped in gold, laughter painted across her face as she reclined on the deck of a yacht off Malibu. The sun glistened on her skin, the ocean stretched endlessly behind her, and champagne flowed like rivers of denial. She wore oversized sunglasses, diamonds at her neck, surrounded by friends who clapped at her every careless remark. A caption beneath one of the photos stabbed me like a blade. Living my best life. I nearly dropped the phone. My son was dying alone, his body failing under the sterile hum of machines, while the woman he married danced under the sun, flaunting luxury, pretending she belonged to some exclusive world. The anger I felt wasn't sudden. It was tidal, rushing from deep inside me, flooding every vein. But beneath the fury was something colder. I had been in business long enough to know that anger was useless without precision. I wasn't going to shout, wasn't going to storm onto her yacht to drag her off. No. Her punishment would be far cleaner, far sharper, and far more devastating. I stepped out of the ICU and into the hospital parking lot, phone in hand, heart pounding. I dialed my manager, my voice like steel, stripped of every ounce of hesitation. Freeze every account tied to her. Every joint account, every card, every single financial vein she feeds from. Pull back the cars. Suspend the staff payments. Cancel the credit lines. Do it all, and do it now. She has feasted on us long enough. Tonight, she dines with nothing. My manager hesitated only long enough to confirm the seriousness of my command. When he heard the resolve in my tone, he didn't ask again. The wheels of ruin began to turn immediately. I imagined her first humiliation vividly. The yacht waiter presenting her with a bill, her confidence radiating as she handed over a card without glancing. The swipe. Declined. She would laugh at first, dismiss it as a mistake. But then the second attempt. Declined again. A flicker of panic. The third. Declined. The laughter around her would fade, curiosity sharpening into suspicion. Those friends of hers were not friends at all. They were opportunists, drawn to the shine of her supposed wealth. And nothing repels opportunists faster than the stench of poverty. Reports trickled back within hours. She had indeed tried paying for bottles of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. When the card was rejected, she demanded another machine. When that failed, her face cracked. Those around her, sensing weakness, began to drift away, murmuring. By the time the sun began to set, the yacht that had been filled with laughter now echoed with her desperation. Her friends slipped away to other parties, leaving her stranded, her diamonds suddenly heavy, her laughter replaced with pleading. I didn't need to witness it to know it happened. I had seen this fall before. Status built on shallow wealth collapses faster than a house of cards. Her frantic calls to me began minutes later. At first, her tone was fiery, indignant. How dare you do this to me? I'm his wife. You can't cut me off. I listened to her venom and ended the call without a word. She called again and again, her voice unraveling from fury to desperation, from demands to pleas. By the fourth call, her words were incoherent sobs, threats interwoven with begging. The sound was almost cathartic. She had lost not just money, but control, and control was her only currency. By nightfall, she had tried everything. Reaching her car service, canceled. Calling her assistant, resigned. Attempting to reach her stylist, already aware of her fall. When she returned to the pier, mascara streaked down her cheeks, shoes in her hands. Her once confident walk was reduced to a stumble. People who once envied her beauty now avoided her gaze, whispering as she passed. Her empire had collapsed in a single evening, and I had orchestrated it with nothing more than a few phone calls. The next morning, she appeared at the hospital. Her appearance was almost unrecognizable. Gone was the goddess of the yacht, replaced by a woman in wrinkled clothes, hair tangled, eyes wild with sleepless panic. She stormed toward me in the hallway, her voice a mixture of rage and despair. You ruined me. Do you know what they're saying about me? Do you know what you've done? Her words cracked, her body trembling as though she were barely holding herself together. I let her scream, let the hallway absorb her venom, until her voice broke into sobs. Then, with all the calmness of a judge delivering a final sentence, I said, Do you want to know what I've done? I stood by my son's bed while you danced on yachts. I watched him fight for breath while you chased champagne. I listened to machines keep him alive while you pretended you didn't have vows to honor. I did nothing but expose the truth. You destroyed yourself. Her knees gave way, and she collapsed against the wall, sliding down until she sat on the cold floor, sobbing. Visitors glanced at her, whispering, recognizing her as the woman from the yacht photos, now stripped of dignity. That humiliation, that psychological fracture, was deeper than the loss of money. She was marked now, branded not by me, but by her own betrayal, her own abandonment. She hadn't just lost wealth. She had lost the illusion of being wanted, admired, respected. She was naked before the world, and it destroyed her. I turned away, walked back into the ICU, and took my son's hand again. His chest still rose and fell weakly, but I leaned close and whispered, "You are not alone. Never again. Whatever it takes, we will rebuild. You and me." And for the first time since the nightmare began, I felt something resembling peace. Not joy, not triumph, but peace. Because justice had been served. Not with violence, not with fury, but with precision. And she, the woman who once thought yachts and diamonds defined her, was left penniless, friendless, and mindless, undone by the hollowness of her own choices. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us.